meantime, a Scrum Trooper. Still following huge releases with big plans. So, Luke receives another LinkedIn invite. Okay, this time from Darth Safe. So, and watch out. Darth Safe is a PMI, head of Agile, lean digital transformation, and has more than 300 certificates that don't fit the invitation. He rejects it.
Yeah. Okay. So one day appears a strange in front of him, and he asks, "Who are you?" And the answer was, "I am the Obi Kanban Obi." And Luke saw him and, wow, it is my old friend. It was our CTO of our company, and three of us, the wife and Obi Kanban Obi and Luke, they work a lot on the past, and he now is different. He's a little bit different. So they remember that past. Both of them worked in the old days in the company of the clients, resolving the problems of the old projects and the big projects, and it was a mess. But it was a good days, and they remember that days. And of course, don't forget the documentation. They passed over nights and those nights writing the documentations. And of course, the question in mind of Luke was, well, long time you see. So you look healthier, you see happy, younger. Where are you in the last years? Because I tried to find you on the past and I didn't find you.
So, Obi Kavanobi was in a detox clinic where he was giving something that would change his life. Do you know what it is? The Agile manifesto. Okay, so he joined the Jedi Alliance, but unfortunately, where he received training and gave training, but unfortunately they started fighting each other. Okay, some of them were killed during the fights with the dark side. Some moved to the dark side. So he was the last one. Okay, he feels still, as Ricardo mentioned, that Luke has a very strong force inside him. So Obi's Kambanobi has a very special knowledge and feeling about Luke's Scrum Walker wife Steph, which was Waterfall, as you all know. So he's thinking of how can he help. So he's old now. He's tired. He's old. It's time for a change. So, but he thinks, hey, I have a friend. So he's starting to run some Agile meetups in the same galaxy. He could be Luke's mentor.
Yeah, and the person is hand coach. That person will help you. He'll making some coaching with you, and he help your transformation for Agile. And you will, of course, as a mentor, I'm going to help you to go to do this transformation. So he went to the meetups, and well, the main goal of this coach was to do these meetups because of networking and on the business. So he wants to grow this network. And of course he have a friend, the Spring, Baka. Both of them have the same goal. They want to be on a stage, so everybody see them. And well, in these meetups, everybody saw that Agile is not new, and it's just common sense and rebranding. Well, when they talk with them, they understand they have an opportunity here to help the Luke. It will be the next Jedi. Maybe we can make some money on Luke. So suddenly he received a new connection on the LinkedIn. It was a Scrum Trooper. And well, again, we have a lot of here information about him. Agile Project Manager, Chief Master on Empire, MBA, Lean Diet, PMP, PSB, PSD, PP, BBB, everything. So yes, and well, he accepted this time.
So okay, let's see what the Scrum Troopers do. So they invaded the company to do an Agile transformation. They have an excellent scramble of trainings, only 10K to do all the CS, all the safe trainings, And watch out, the manager is under pressure, so it will increase next week. He has to deliver things. So watch out, you're watching live and direct an Agile transformation. It's a work in progress.
No pain.
No pain. So they're quite happy because one more planet was transformed due to their great work. Now they will need to coach them afterwards.
Yeah, of course. So Luke didn't understand why this transformation don't work. Well, they make the framework in place. They do the dailies, they do the retrospectives, they do reviews, they do everything like the book. So I'm doing Scrum. I'm doing by the book. So Obi explained. So look, your mindset towards learning is more powerful than any device. So it's in your mind that is the key, not the tool. It's the mind. So Obi wants to share a story to help Luke to understand a little bit more what he said.
So in a planet not that further away, there was created the foundations of Agile. Let's watch what they do. Okay? One of the key things is that they have motivated people. They work on a collaborative way. Okay? And they support each other. They support the teams when they work together. On this planet, they're called Agile Masters. Okay? They realize that they can take the principles very seriously and adapt them to their needs, and people trust each other. Okay? Master Yoda was the last one to train them. Unfortunately, he died, but he was able to transform them in their mindset. Okay? So in his homage, they created a framework that's called Adoi, so Yoda backwards, that reflects through his memory moving on and to help other planets.
So I can do this alone. I need some help. Alone, if you want to go long, you can be alone. If you want to be, if you want to be faster, be alone. If you go far, go together. So where is the resistance? So we start doing some conference, some meetups also, and they start to write blog spots with a fake name. So he went to.
So he decided to go check other meetups. So watch out, the Scrum Trooper is late for the Vader Ops meetup. Let's see what's happening in the Vader Ops meetup. Okay. Meanwhile, so he's seeing that Luke has a lot of initiative, a lot to give. So the force is strong within him. So the main thing is we have spies from the Resistance on this Vader Ops, and this guy is watching out. He can help us on the Resistance. Okay, he might know. So they start engaging, and what Luke tells him once he knows his rebels that he has a message for Princess Leia on how to destroy the lethal weapon from the Empire, the Star Spotify. So they get into a escape call, okay, and he shares the info.
So after this meeting and escape call, they decided to meet together. And the first thing is, Luke understand the wastes of not falling in love again. So he was alone, so he falling in love on mindset of Princess Leia. So, and Princess Leia understand that Luke can help the Resistance fight against the Imperator. So, but before this first fight they are going to do and try to destroy the strange weapon is, remember Luke, your device is just a tool. The way that you use and the where and how is you makes a Jedi. So that is important. So they started to go to the Star Spotify and try to destroy it. They don't know actually, but this star is ahead of him. They will going to try to destroy the old planet of Luke, the Kodak, but they don't know yet. So they went to that Star Spotify and tried to destroy it.
Well, in the meantime, Maules is spreading certifications all over the place. Okay? And unfortunately, Obi-Wan Kenobi died at his hands. He was so strong, there were too many certifications for Obi-Wan Kenobi to handle.
Or maybe it was the age.
Let's see. So, Luke got pissed off, really pissed off and angry. So on the sake of revenge, he went to fight Maulus. Maulus died at his hands. He didn't fall into the trap of certifications. He fought back with his agile mindset. So this was the trigger. So now I am agile. In the meantime, he meets for the first time Darth Safe. Come with me and learn how to scale agile in organizations. He didn't fall into that trap. So he wanted to pursue him and to join the dark agile. Okay, but Luke refuses. He didn't want to go back to Kodak and feel all his feelings. He's changing, so he's in a different step and mindset.
Well, they start fighting, but Luke falling down on the waterfall tunnel, and his LinkedIn profile disappeared. So Darksafe was very happy. So it's the first step to destroy the rebels. But he thinks that, well, it's sad also, because Luke was very strong. And, well, but the story is not ended here, because his friends help him and save it. And, well, we will going to do a new plan. So maybe this sprint was not a success.
Darksafe doesn't know that Luke was saved at 11th hour. Okay, so they come back to the rebels base. Okay, Luke understands, hey, I learned a lot from my mistakes, we need to adapt several things. How about we do a retrospective? And in the meantime, hand coach is thinking, oh, he did 70, 20, 10 technique. So 70% he learned by doing, 20% he learned from others, and 10% by training, so he's evolving. Back in the base, well, I won't translate this. Each planet should have their own operational model. That's the most outcome that they had. So instead of having everyone with the star Spotify and that invades with this framework, they should adapt. Each planet should have their own and adapt. They understand really, they inspect and adapt. So for the next sprint, they want to commit themselves to help his former galaxy. So mindset comes from agility, so I can adapt to change. Here I go, I will help Kodak. Okay? With all the knowledge Luke gathered, and with CXPO, is back to planet Kodak. What will happen? Let's see.
Yeah, too late. So, his planet was destroyed actually for the start, Spotify. He was very sad, so he came back to talk with Princess Lin, and he wants to fight against Darksafe. So, well, he realized that maybe the next sprint will be the success sprint, and well, and the Princess Lin have some information to him. She thought, or she think that the Darksafe is his father. The Luke don't want to agree that. It's not. He don't believe in that. But well, he wants to fight against the Darksafe. That person destroy his planet and kill his wife. He think.
So Kanban Ray, which was Luke's wife, didn't have an agile mindset. So she failed as a manager and essentially as a leader. Darksafe had to kill her. Now you know the truth. She resisted to be a servant leader. Again, Luke attacks the Star Spotify with the rebels. So they start with a sprint review of what is happening. He wants to kill Darksafe, and he thinks he knows the truth. Again, he thinks. But, Luke, I'm not your father. So Luke wins the fight this time around, okay? But he's confronted with this hard and difficult truth about his past.
Yeah, and he said, now universe is safe because the Darksafe is dead. And And suddenly appears a new connection, the environment. So you know, CEO, Agile Centers, Experience in Conference, trainers of trainers, masters of masters. Yeah, and he accepted. And when he accepted, the emperor said, "Oh, my son, this is a real father. He don't know yet. Yes, and another thing, he don't know yet. His wife is alive, but he's in a dark Agile. So I'm alive. I'm going to kick resistance." And well, unfortunately, our story ends here. So may Agility be with you, but before your pause, we're going to explain our making of this talk.
So let's start with our making of. How did we do this? So we started with the end goal in mind. So we wanted to share some learning outcomes with this storytelling. So desire to discover better how to implement proper good agility. So just adapt and live by it. Just on awareness of the danger of selling and using dark agile. So just don't pick upon a framework and just put it there. You need to adapt. So I talked a bit on the remote one, and Ricardo yesterday on his workshop on management Frio. Share knowledge about the agile mindset. It's always good to come back and read it. Okay, it's 2001 document, and understand the ADKAR model of change, embracing the art of storytelling. We'll go there in a second. And agile isn't new; it's just common sense rebranded. Okay, in a lot of things, you just have to think what's easier, what's common sense for us.
We work remotely, so we use again Trello. The first here we see the first board, and we start the why. So why we want to do this talk, and next when we answer, both of us were aligned. We started to do the what and how. So we used a technique in storytelling that is called hero journey. And if you study a little bit, you identify all steps in all stories about hero's journey. So we identified
Just a second. That's how Star Wars was made.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's why we wanted to do it this way.
Exactly. And so
this was the freaking board, but it didn't.
Yeah.
It was a
too
hard
big.
screenshot. To do it.
It's too big. We know.
It has all the steps.
Yeah, so we put it before, sorry. So we put it here, all the information that we think that in this step makes sense to put it. And put it the characters that will happen, that will appear, all the story, all the jokes also. Everything was here, okay, and inclusive this making of also. So this is an early journey, so I'm not going to explain a little bit, but first, well, he is in an ordinary world, a normal world. So there is something, a trigger that appears on his life, and he refuses that. And after he met the mentor. So someone will help to transform for the special world. So this is the ordinary world, this is a special world. And here, well, he have a lot of challenge, various steps. And when we win the power, then we're going to fight against something. And when you win, goes to the ordinary world again. And finally, he returns and fight the last fight and will win again, or not, sometimes not. And this was the journey like you saw in this story. And we use this hero's journey. It's me also. Okay. Here, how do we build the slides? Because we are remotely, so we decided to put it topics or slides, put it here to do, and each time that we put it doing, we started doing this part, and when I ended put it in review, and the other person will review the slide, and both of us was working together in the same way, and was this simple way, and it was very...
It was 1 week and something once we had the story.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
Okay, so mainly it was, we only got one time together in a shopping mall in Aveiro, which is kind of awkward because at lunchtime people saw a table full of post-its and think, who are these
crazy
freaking
guys? Two crazy guys with post-its.
So just a quick recap. So I'm a delivery lead for Recall Experts for the last 3 years. I mean, in the past I've been a project manager and product owner in several companies.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm a line manager in Nokia. In the afternoon will be Agile coach because I didn't update this one.
Hand coach.
Hand coach, exactly. So in the past also I had an Agile coach role, a product owner, Scrum Master, and also a developer. I worked in some companies, including PT Innovation. At that time I met some of you guys. And this is my my connections, LinkedIn and email and so on.
And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for...
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Nono. Who's going first for questions?
I don't have that to give this time around. I cannot give this because they're Angela's. Okay.
Questions? No one seems interested for now. So I'll try to make a question. So, why do you think it's relevant to come here and do this talk about Agile and what does this impact our daily lives in our companies?
I think that it's provoking. We want to provoke people. We want to people think a little bit about what we are doing, using Scrum, the tools instead of why we are doing. We need to not to use a framework like it is, because each company have a different culture. So culture is the shadow of our behaviors. So if you use a framework, you want to change behaviors, okay? Because at the end, that framework have the culture. So you want to change behaviors, but the company wants to change that behaviors, and what type of behaviors they wanted. So I think that
there's a selfish part too, because we wanted to test how we would work together and to test how this model of doing the storytelling. So that's the selfish part that usually we don't talk about.
I have a question over there. May I throw? Thank you.
So thank you for your presentation. My question goes in the direction of teams that work in projects with different domains in the sense of software development, mechanical development, and hardware development. Do you think Agile, as you presented, could fit in such a project, or which adaptations need to be made in these cases?
Well, I usually say if waterfall is working okay, you can continue, okay? Although I don't like to do it anymore. I've done it. To be honest, if it works, well, you can always improve. But still, I think you do. I don't know the details. Okay, it's hard to just throw it up in the air. I think that independently of the framework or whatever, you can always think of different ways, or at least do experiments on how to make people work. I think that for me it would be interesting to understand how the flows work. So how can people connect? How the product is made? What are the interactions that they need? And then talk about how can they work together. But I don't see why not.
Yeah, makes sense.
Sometimes when people talk about Agile, they're like, okay, this is the recipe, apply it to everything. And
I think that, for example, 5 years ago, if we talk about Agile, or we talk, my mindset was different. Each time that I learn something, I understand that everything are connected. Agile, Lean, Waterfall, at the end are people on the center. So the most important is to understand what people want, the client or the employees or the manager, wherever. So the main goal here is to understand how we can deliver value the way that we are doing. For example, I did twice this year the Camino of Santiago, and one was with Inés. It's over here, someone. Where is Inés? Yeah, oh, it is. So she, I think that she will understand what I am saying is the goal is the way. And I understand that when I did that Camino. When I wrote, I understand it, yeah, okay, but feeling is different. So the goal is the way. It's not about what we're going to deliver, it's how we will deliver and how the client will satisfy. It's not about the product. Yes, it's about the product. It's about the client, how we build in the company. So it's if it is hardware, is software, or whatever. Even in my home, I try to convince my kids to think differently. When I asked my daughter, "What is your goal in school?" and she said, "Grades," and I was so sad about that, because it's not about that. It's about learning. If you focus on learning, only learning, understand what you are doing, after the grades is a result. So the goal is the way, not the result. If you focus on the result, no. It's like going to Santiago by car. Yeah, great. It can be also, but doing the way is the goal. That is, I think, is the answer for you.
A lot of things aren't new. That's why we say
Yeah.
just rebranded. In some way, and there's a really good book on it, which is called Be More Pirate. Pirates were agile in a lot of ways. If you compare historically what they've done and what they changed along the way, and still, if we see a lot of nowadays pirates, they continue to mix and match and shake things up. Even Kanban has like 30 years or something. I don't recall the date. It was manufacturing, and then in 2013 or something, I don't know the dates, but it just changed from a small K to a big K, and David Anderson pushed it to the IT world. So just rebranding a bit and thinking a bit about it. What we usually suggest is you have to start by doing something, right? Independently of the name or the framework or whatever. Just start by baby steps. If you have the ability to experiment, even outside on a project. So we have projects outside of work, and sometimes we try to experiment techniques and then bring them to work. They may work or not because it's a different environment. So we just trial and error. The community is getting bigger, and it's all about that. It has a lot of psychology more than any tech or knowing the frameworks or whatever. That's not what we usually do or try to do with the teams. Although we work in different companies, we try to do with the teams we work with.
More questions?
Okay, but don't you think that what, this is the mic? Okay. I'm sorry. But I think it's more a question of mentality, and what I feel like is it's hard to sell that mentality to management, because the way they see Agile is more okay, it's very cool for the developers because you get to say what you think about and to say this is the way I work best, I would like to do it this way, but then it will take more time in the management view. So don't you think managers should be more involved in this kind of meetups and conferences, that these messages should also be, or how do you think you could, for instance, a coach could come to management and help?
So like Scandi said, be the change you want to see in the world. If the CEO wants to be agile in the company, first he must be agile also, to think a little bit what is agile and doing that stuff. Instead of buying a framework, like in the last talk we saw about SAFe. SAFe is great to start, yes, I agree totally. Actually in Nokia we started also SAFe this year. They have good things, so framework have good things to start, but in that journey we have to think about it, how we are going to do it. And of course the key is the managers. Without the support from the managers, well, you don't have the buy-in from them. It will be hard to the teams doing and explaining why they are doing. And at the end of the day, we need profit. Profit is oxygen, okay? For example, for me, for living, we need oxygen. So profit in the company is the same. So, but the way we are doing inside in the company is the same like what I'm doing in life, you know? So the purpose in my life. So the purpose will, autonomous, like I said the last one, and I'm going to code that, autonomous with purpose, you know? So Agile can be that. So the teams must be empowered. They must have power to decide, because they have not all the vision. They have a small vision, but together we are strong. I don't know if you know crow wisdom, the crow of wisdom, and it's talking about a little bit the generally all people, if make a decision, is the best decision, instead of one person to make a decision. Okay, one person will be quick, but together the decision will be better. So I think that in an organization should be that, and the manager should be one of the roles to decide things in the organization.
Just add one thing on a different perspective. I think that the problem starts way sooner, and not only on the manager. I think it starts at school.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot because we both have children, and the problem starts even with not only on the managers, but especially with people coming out of college. Okay. Fortunately, it's starting to change. So if you're getting out of college, don't be offended. Okay. That's perfectly normal. I face the same. But the thing is, you have the same flow or way of thinking, way of teaching since the 1920s. Okay, things evolved. And so people are used to say, you do this, you do that. And when you say no, you have that goal. If you need to go through history, maths, Portuguese, whatever, you need to accomplish that, it's your call. Go and find it, I'll help you support it. People just, what the? People get completely lost. And I have these discussions in my daughter's school once, as soon as they start by the children, when they get to that point, and if they started earlier, nowadays we wouldn't have this conversation.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
personally.
like I usually said, education is like a bus. So there is a driver, the teacher, and we have stops. And you cannot stop wherever you want. So education is the same. The students need to do that stops. They are not the driver of the student, the education, the learning. So when they finish school, they start working. And you wait, so what suppose I have to do? And of course, manager, you have to figure out. You have to think. Yeah, but my school, I didn't work in that way. I only study and going to this way. I never think about it. I want to learn more about geometry, for example. So I think that I agree totally with you. Before I was in Nokia, I was working in education company, and it was my pain, because it's very hard to see kids being that way. It's like zombies, you know. And suddenly appears in a company, and you are a zombie, and waiting for that person to stop doing zombie ways. It's hard. So managers need to help that people. So they are the key again.
Yeah, I just asked because I was in your workshop yesterday, and I think most people there were managers, and the struggle was, yeah, but that is very beautiful and it's like an ideal world, but then how can we meet our dates still? But most of the times you will not meet your dates, and you will not get a better product in the end, because the people are not giving their opinion. They don't get a saying.
They're afraid of giving their opinion, because otherwise they are going to have a bad evaluation, because the manager will evaluate him, and if you talk what you think, maybe you are
have
going
bonus
out,
related to those
bonus.
releases.
So stop doing bonus. Pay the people what they really deserve. Yeah, that is the key.
But it's a way long way to go.
Yeah, it's a go way. Yeah, long way.
Any questions? So we have time for one or two more. Do you wish to ask Ricardo and Nuno anything else? It's lunchtime.